The Galactic Council chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, a vast, shimmering dome of translucent alloy that refracted light into a kaleidoscope of colors. Representatives from 100 species filled the tiered seating, their forms as varied as the stars they hailed from. At the center of the chamber, a holographic display flickered with the emblem of the Galactic Union, a swirling galaxy encircled by a ring of unity. Today, however, the unity felt tenuous, at least where humanity was concerned. Captain Emily Carter stood at the podium, her posture rigid, her dark eyes scanning the room. She was the picture of composure, though her knuckles whitened as she gripped the edges of the podium. Behind her, the rest of the human delegation fidgeted uncomfortably. Dr. Michael Harris adjusted his glasses for the third time in as many minutes, his fingers brushing against the small makeshift device he always carried. A habit born of nervous energy, Sarah Johnson, the team's youngest member, gazed around the chamber with wide-eyed wonder, her notebook clutched tightly to her chest. And then there was Jake Thompson, leaning casually against the wall, his sniper rifle slung over his shoulder like an afterthought. His smirk suggested he found the whole situation amusing. "Ambassadors of the Galactic Council," Emily began, her voice steady but firm. "Humanity is honored to stand before you as observers. We seek to contribute to the unity and prosperity of this great union." A ripple of laughter echoed through the chamber. Zorath, the Krill ambassador, rose from his seat, his insectoid exoskeleton glinting under the chamber's lights. "Contribute?" he sneered, his voice a grating buzz. "Your species can barely navigate a zero-gravity corridor without stumbling. Your technology is a patchwork of stolen ideas, and your weapons—" He paused, his mandibles clicking in. "Disdain. Projectile firearms? How quaint!" The laughter grew louder. Emily's jaw tightened, but she held her ground. "Our methods may differ from yours, Ambassador, but they are effective. Humanity has faced countless challenges and emerged stronger each time." "Challenges?" Zorath interrupted, his tone dripping with mockery. "You mean your petty wars and environmental catastrophes? The Galactic Council has no need for such primitive ingenuity." Dr. Harris stepped forward, his voice trembling but determined. "With all due respect, Ambassador, humanity's ingenuity has allowed us to achieve interstellar travel in less than a century. Our patchwork technology is a testament to our adaptability." Zorath waved a clawed hand dismissively. "Adaptability? Your delegation's performance during the zero-gravity training exercise was a spectacle of incompetence. Even the Grylax, a species with no limbs, managed better." Sarah's cheeks flushed, but she stepped forward, her voice soft but unwavering. "Perhaps our clumsiness is a sign of our willingness to learn. We don't claim to be perfect, but we are eager to improve." Jake chuckled, drawing the room's attention. "Yeah, and maybe you'd be less cranky if you tried smiling once in a while. Just a thought." The chamber erupted in a mix of laughter and murmurs. Zorath's compound eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, the council's presiding officer, a serene, luminescent being known as Ilora, raised a hand. "Enough," she said, her voice resonating with calm authority. "The council has granted humanity observer status. Let us not waste time with petty disputes." Emily nodded, her expression grateful but guarded. "Thank you, Ilora. We look forward to proving our worth." As the delegation left the chamber, the weight of the council's judgment hung heavy in the air. Outside, the team gathered in. The SS Endeavour, their ship a stark contrast to the sleek alien vessels surrounding it. The Endeavour was a testament to human resourcefulness, a patchwork of salvaged parts and cutting-edge technology, held together by sheer determination. "Well, that went about as well as expected," Jake said, leaning back in his chair. "Nothing like being the laughingstock of the galaxy to boost morale." "We knew this wouldn't be easy," Emily replied, her tone sharp. "But we're here to prove them wrong. Let's focus on the mission." The mission, as it turned out, was a seemingly routine assignment. Investigate a distress signal from a remote planet on the edge of Krill space. The Council had framed it as a test of humanity's capabilities, but the team suspected it was more of a setup. Still, they had no choice but to accept. As the Endeavour prepared for departure, Dr. Harris busied himself with last-minute adjustments to the ship's systems. "I've recalibrated the gravity stabilizers," he said, his voice tinged with pride. "We should be able to handle the planet's atmospheric disturbances." Sarah pored over the planet's data, her excitement palpable. The distress signal came from a Lumen vessel. They're a peaceful species. This could be a chance to make a positive impression. Jake smirked. "Or it's a trap. Either way, I'm ready." Emily glanced at her team, a mix of determination and apprehension in her eyes. "Let's move out. We've got a job to do." As the Endeavour lifted off, the team couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far bigger than they had anticipated. But for now, they had a mission to complete, and a galaxy to prove wrong. Captain Emily Carter gripped the armrests of her chair, her eyes fixed on the view screen. "Michael, how's the ship holding up?" Dr. Michael Harris, seated at the engineering console, adjusted his glasses and scanned the readouts. "Gravity, stabilizers are holding, but the atmospheric pressure is fluctuating like crazy. If we stay too long, we might not make it back out." Sarah Johnson, seated beside him, clutched her notebook tightly. "The distress signal originated about 2 clicks east of our landing site. If we hurry, we can reach it before the storm worsens." Jake Thompson, leaning against the bulkhead with his sniper rifle slung over his shoulder, smirked. "Hurry? In this weather? Sounds like fun." Emily shot him a look. "Stay focused, Jake. We don't know what we're walking into." The ship touched down with a jolt, and the team quickly suited up in their environmental gear. As they stepped onto the planet's surface, the wind howled around them, whipping up dust and debris. The landscape was desolate, a barren expanse of rock and ash under a sky choked with dark clouds. "Charming place," Jake muttered, his voice crackling over the comms. "Remind me why we didn't send a drone?" "Because the Council wants to see us fail," Emily replied, her tone sharp. "Let's prove them wrong." The team moved cautiously, their boots crunching against the rocky ground. Sarah led the way, her handheld scanner pinging as it picked up traces of the Lumen vessel's energy signature. "We're close," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. "Just over that ridge." As they crested the ridge, the wreckage came into view, a sleek silver ship half buried in the ground, its hull scorched and broken. The team approached cautiously, their weapons at the ready. "Looks like it took a beating," Michael observed, his voice tense. "But I don't see any signs of survivors." Emily motioned for the team to spread out. "Sarah, see if you can access the ship's logs. Michael, check for any usable tech. Jake, keep watch." Jake nodded, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon. "Roger that, Captain." As Sarah and Michael worked, Emily examined the exterior of the ship. The damage was extensive, but something about it didn't add up. "This wasn't just a crash," she said, her voice low. "These marks, they're from weapons fire." Before anyone could respond, Jake's voice cut through the comms. "We've got company." The team turned to see a squad of krill, soldiers emerging from the storm, their insectoid forms silhouetted against the lightning-lit sky. They moved with predatory precision, their weapons trained on the humans. Emily raised her hands slowly, her mind racing. "We're here on a humanitarian mission," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We mean no harm." The krill leader, a towering figure with a scarred exoskeleton, stepped forward. His voice was a guttural buzz. "This is krill territory. You are trespassing." Sarah stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. "We received a distress signal. We're here to help." The krill leader's compound eyes narrowed. "Help or spy?" Before Emily could respond, Jake interjected, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "Yeah, Because we'd totally risk our lives to spy on a bunch of bugs in the middle of nowhere. The Krill leader's mandibles clicked in anger, and he raised his weapon. You will come with us. Now. Emily exchanged a glance with her team. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but she wasn't about to let the Krill take them without a fight. On my mark, she whispered over the comms. The Krill leader stepped closer, his weapon aimed at Emily's chest. Do not resist. Emily's eyes hardened. Now! In a flash, Jake dropped to one knee and fired his sniper rifle. The Almai's shot, striking the Krill leader's weapon and sending it flying. Michael activated a small device on his belt, emitting a pulse of electromagnetic energy that disabled the Krill's shields. Sarah grabbed a smoke grenade from her belt and hurled it at the ground, creating a thick cloud of obscuring smoke. Move! Emily shouted, leading the team into the cover of the wreckage. The Krill soldiers, momentarily disoriented, opened fire blindly. The humans returned fire, their shots precise and calculated. Jake, perched on a jagged piece of debris, picked off the Krill one by one, his sniper rifle cracking like thunder. We can't hold them off forever, Michael shouted, ducking behind a piece of wreckage as plasma bolts sizzled past. Emily's mind raced. Sarah, did you get anything from the ship's logs? Sarah nodded, her hands trembling as she held up a datapad. Enough to prove. The Krill attacked the Lumen. But we need to get this to the Council. Jake fired another shot, taking down a Krill soldier who had gotten too close. Any brilliant ideas, Captain? Emily glanced around, her eyes landing on a nearby cave. System. There! We can lose them in the caves and regroup. The team moved as one, sprinting toward the cave entrance as the Krill closed in. Jake covered their retreat, his shots precise and deadly. As they reached the caves, Emily turned and fired. A final shot, hitting a Krill soldier in the leg and slowing their pursuit. Inside the caves, the team paused to catch their breath. The sound of the storm outside was muffled, replaced by the eerie silence of the underground. Well, Jake said, leaning against the cave wall. That went about as well as expected. Emily shot him a glare, but couldn't suppress a small smile. We're alive, aren't we? Sarah held up the datapad, her expression grim. We've got the proof we need, but getting it to the Council won't be easy. Michael adjusted his glasses, his mind already working on a solution. If we can find a way to boost the signal, we might be able to transmit the data from here. Emily nodded, her resolve hardening. Then let's get to work. We've got a galaxy to expose. This way, Michael said, his voice low. The scanner's picking up a faint energy signature deeper in the caves. Could be something we can use. Emily nodded. Let's check it out. But stay sharp. We don't know what else might be down here. The team pressed on, the silence broken only by the crunch of their boots on the rocky ground. As they rounded a corner, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with strange glowing crystals. In the center of the chamber stood a cluster of ancient-looking machinery, its design unlike anything they had seen before. Sarah's eyes widened. This is Lumen technology, but it's old, really old. Michael stepped forward, his scanner beeping rapidly. These crystals are emitting some kind of energy field. If I can figure out how to harness it, we might be able to boost the signal from the datapad. Emily crossed her arms, her gaze sweeping the chamber. Do it. But hurry. We don't know how long we have before the Krill find us. As Michael and Sarah set to work, Jake leaned against a nearby rock, his rifle resting across his knees. So, Captain, what's the plan if the Krill come knocking? We can't exactly fight our way out of here. Emily's lips tightened. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, let's focus on getting that signal out. Jake smirked. Always the optimist. Sarah, meanwhile, was engrossed in the Lumen machinery, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns etched into its surface. This is incredible, she murmured. The Lumen were masters of energy manipulation. If we can tap into this system, we might be able to transmit the data directly to the Council. Michael nodded, his hands moving swiftly as he connected wires and adjusted settings. It's risky, but it's our best shot. Just give me a few minutes. As the two worked, Emily kept watch, her mind racing. The Krill were relentless, and it was only a matter of time before they tracked the team down. She glanced at Jake, who was idly cleaning his rifle. You've been quiet. What's on your mind? Jake shrugged. Just thinking about how much I hate caves. And bugs. And bug-filled caves. Emily couldn't help but smile. Noted. But if you've got any bright ideas, now's the time to share them. Jake's expression turned serious. If the Krill find us, we'll need a distraction. Something big enough to buy us time to get that signal out. Emily nodded. Agreed. Let's see what we're working with. As they spoke, Michael let out a triumphant shout. Got it. The crystals are amplifying the signal. Sarah, start the transmission. Sarah's fingers flew over the datapad, her face a mask of concentration. Transmitting now, but it's going to take a few minutes to send the full data packet. Emily turned to Jake. You're up. Find us a distraction. Jake grinned. With pleasure. He moved to the far side of the chamber, where a cluster of the glowing crystals jutted from the wall. Carefully, he pried one loose and examined it. These things are volatile. If I can rig a few of them together, I can create a pretty impressive explosion. Emily raised an eyebrow. You sure you know what you're doing? Jake winked. Trust me, Captain. I've got this. As Jake worked, the tension in the chamber grew palpable. The sound of distant footsteps echoed through the tunnels, growing louder with each passing second. The Krill were closing in. How much longer? Emily asked, her voice tight. Sarah's eyes were glued to the datapad. Almost there. Just a few more seconds. The footsteps were nearly upon them now, the harsh buzz of Krill voices audible even through the thick rock walls. Jake finished his work and stepped back, a small bundle of crystals clutched in his hand. Ready when you are, Captain. Emily nodded. Do it. Jake hurled the bundle down the tunnel just as the first Krill soldiers rounded the corner. The explosion was deafening, the shockwave knocking the team off their feet. The tunnel collapsed in a shower of rock and dust, sealing off the entrance to the chamber. For a moment, there was silence. Then, Sarah let out a triumphant cry. The transmission's complete. The Council has the data. Emily let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Good work, everyone. But we're not out of the woods yet. The Krill will find another way in. We need to move. Michael grabbed his scanner and began adjusting the settings. There's another tunnel on the far side of the chamber. It leads deeper into the caves. If we're lucky, it might take us closer to the surface. Jake slung his rifle over his shoulder. And if we're not lucky? Emily shot him a look. Then we'll make our own luck. Let's move. The team gathered their gear and headed for the tunnel, their steps quick but cautious. As they disappeared into the darkness, the sound of Krill voices echoed behind them, a reminder that the danger was far from over. But amidst the chaos and uncertainty, one thing was clear. Humanity's ingenuity and determination had once again proven their worth. The team had faced impossible odds and come out on top. For now. As they pressed on, the faint glow of the crystals illuminated their path, a symbol of hope in the darkness. The mission was far from over, but for the first time, Emily allowed herself to believe that they might just pull it off. The tunnel's leading upward, Michael said, his eyes fixed on the readout. If we're lucky, we might find an exit before the Krill catch up. Sarah Johnson, clutching the now empty datapad, glanced over her shoulder. And if we're not lucky? Jake Thompson, bringing up the rear, smirked. Then we'll just have to make our own luck. Again, Emily shot him a look but didn't respond. Her mind was racing, calculating their options. The Krill were relentless, and it was only a matter of time before they found another way into the caves. They needed a plan, and fast. The tunnel eventually opened into a large cavernous chamber, its ceiling lost in shadow. In the center of the chamber stood a massive ancient lumen structure, its surface covered in intricate carvings that pulsed faintly with light. The air hummed with energy, and the team could feel the vibrations in their bones. Sarah's eyes widened. This is incredible. It's some kind of lumen energy hub. If we can activate it, we might be able to create a diversion, or even a way out. Michael stepped forward, his scanner beeping rapidly. The energy readings are off the charts, but if we can tap into it, we might be able to overload the system and create a shockwave powerful enough to collapse the caves. Emily crossed her arms, her gaze sweeping the chamber. Do it. But hurry. We don't have much time. As Michael and Sarah set to work, Jake moved to the edge of the chamber, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows. Captain, we've got company. Emily turned to see a squad of Krill soldiers emerging from the tunnel, their weapons raised and their compound eyes glinting with malice. The Krill leader stepped forward, his voice a guttural buzz. You cannot escape. Surrender, now, and we will make your deaths quick. Emily's jaw tightened, but before she could respond, Jake raised his sniper rifle and fired. The shot struck the Krill leader's weapon, sending it clattering to the ground. The chamber erupted into chaos as the Krill opened fire, their plasma, bolts sizzling through the air. Michael, Sarah, get that thing working, Emily shouted, diving behind a rock for cover. She returned fire, her shots precise and calculated, but the Krill were relentless. Jake, perched on a ledge above the chamber, picked off the Krill one by one, his sniper rifle cracking like thunder. Captain, we're running out of time. Emily glanced over at Michael and Sarah, who were frantically working on the lumen structure. How much longer? Michael's hands moved swiftly as he connected wires and adjusted settings. Almost there. Just a few more seconds. The Krill were closing in, their numbers overwhelming. Emily fired her last shot, taking down a Krill soldier who had gotten too close. Jake, we need a distraction. Jake grinned, his eyes gleaming with mischief. I've got just the thing. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small device, a makeshift explosive cobbled together from spare parts. With a flick of his wrist, he hurled it into the midst of the Krill soldiers. The explosion was deafening, the shockwave knocking the Krill off their feet and buying the team precious seconds. Now! Michael shouted, his voice barely audible over the din. Sarah slammed her hand down on the control panel, and the lumen structure roared to life. The carvings on its surface blazed with light, and the air crackled with energy. The ground shook violently, and the ceiling of the chamber began to collapse. Move! Emily shouted, leading the team toward a narrow passage on the far side of the chamber. The Krill, disoriented and panicked, scrambled to escape as the cave system collapsed around them. The team sprinted through the passage, the sound of falling rock echoing behind them. They burst out into the open air just as the entrance to the caves collapsed in a cloud of dust and debris. For a moment, there was silence. Then, Jake let out a low whistle. That was close. Emily turned to Michael and Sarah, her expression a mix of relief and pride. You two just saved our lives. Michael adjusted his glasses, a small smile playing on his lips. All in a day's work. Sarah clutched the datapad tightly, her eyes shining with determination. The Council has the proof. The Krill won't be able to hide what they've done. Emily nodded, her resolve hardening. Then let's make sure the galaxy knows the truth. As the team made their way back to the SS Endeavour, the weight of their mission pressed heavily on their shoulders. But amidst the danger and uncertainty, one thing was clear. Humanity's ingenuity and determination had once again proven their worth. The Endeavour lifted off, its engines roaring as it climbed through the storm-racked sky. Inside the ship, the team gathered in the cockpit, their faces a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Jake leaned back in his chair, his smirk returning. So, Captain, what's next? Emily glanced at her team, a small smile playing on her lips. Next, we take this fight to the Council, and we show them what humanity is really made of. As the ship broke through the atmosphere and into the starry expanse of space, the team couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. They had faced impossible odds and come out on top. And though the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, they knew one thing for certain. Together, they could overcome anything.